from that to a hot take artist. So Kevin is our intern here on Fox Sports Radio. He is a hot take maker. All right, it's what he does. He's also a diehard New York Giants fan, and he's got some hot takes on the New York Giants. Now, Kevin, this is your final day. You've been a fine intern. You've done a great job here helping Brady and I out. You laugh at all our immature jokes behind the scenes here.
We appreciate that, Kevin.
Now you have a podcast of your own, correct?
Two actually.
Okay, so what are the two podcasts that you have? Yeah, two podcasts. Can you believe this guy? Double barrel action here.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's like double majoring in college.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, first of all, guys, thank you so much for having me on. This is so fun. So my first podcast I started, my favorite team more than the Giants is the New York Rangers. So I have a podcast for them called 33rd and 7th, a New York Rangers podcast. Yep.
Say that one more time.
Hockey. I know you guys talk a lot about it out here in California.
That's what we do. Hey.
Yeah, wait. Say the name of the hockey podcast, though, again.
33rd and 7th, a New York Rangers podcast. That's because the Rangers play on 33rd and 7th. But the podcast I really want to talk about is a different show I do, actually a mental health podcast called Behind the Mind. And it's a show that is designed with each episode. I interview a guest who has struggled with mental illness, whether that be anxiety, depression, bipolar disorder, PTSD, pretty much anything goes, to eliminate the stigma surrounding the topic, raise awareness, make it a more approachable topic. And the inspiration for the show is my own struggles with it. Clearly, I have no shame in saying that. It's been something I dealt with since I was a child. So pretty much it's something that millions of people suffer with, and it's something that is really important in the sports world as well. You know, Kevin Love, DeMar DeRozan have come out with issues talking about it. You see NFL players talk about it. College football is now starting to talk about it. The NCAA and their transfer policy is changing now based off mental health. So it's something that is important in pretty much every industry in the world. So,
and it was right then that I realized we probably should have started with the Giants and then gotten to the rest, because now the transition is awkward. But no, if people want to check that out again, where can they go to find it?
So the podcast is called Behind the Mind on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's on Stitcher and on SoundCloud.
Good.
And go to Instagram BTM_pod, and on Twitter the same handle.
So. Good for you, man.
All right, yeah, good for you. That is awesome.
Appreciate it.
All right, now here's what's not awesome. Your crummy football team.
They're
That's
not
what's
awesome
not
at all.
Okay, so go ahead, spit us with your hot take here on the Giants.
All right,
well,
Kev? It does revolve around Eli Manning. I have to preface it by saying thank you, Eli. I know 2 Super Bowls. I'm forever grateful. But hey, hold on.
Come on, man.
Hey, I'm a rational Giants fan. Watch this. Most of my friends are actually screaming at me for what I'm about to say. But I think Eli Manning should not be the starter in Week 1. He has pretty much in the last 5 years, since his days of being, I guess his peak was slightly above average. Look, I'm a rational Giants fan, like I said. He has declined pretty much every single year for the past 5 years. He's slow in the pocket. He's never been a really great deep ball thrower, but that's even gotten worse. He doesn't have the accuracy to make up for that. So year by year, he's just gotten worse, and clearly there's no team around him outside of Saquon and Evan Ingram, so there's really no upside in playing Eli. I think Daniel Jones has got to be the guy.
Kev, let's stop for a second.
And first of all, let me just say this. It's even more of a reason to keep Eli, because they don't have anybody to throw deep to anyways. So
hold on. Before you go any further,
I guess,
let me help you when you get on your podcast, you start discussing this sort of thing, okay? Don't try to make a point and then contradict yourself at the end, like you just did, saying he has no help out around him. You said he has no help out around him.
No, I'm saying this upcoming year, but he's had Odell Beckham, and he couldn't throw deep to him either.
No, okay. Do you remember when Odell Beckham had all these great stats that people talked about since he got into the league? Who was throwing to him on the other side of that?
Somebody had to get in the ball,
Eli Manning,
Kev.
but I think most people will agree that Odell Beckham would thrive with a better quarterback. That's why I think he's going to be much better in Cleveland. He was forced to run 6-yard slant routes most of the time because Eli didn't throw a pass more than 40 yards last year.
So, Kevin, here's some things you got to understand that you don't know anything. So,
wow.
So that would have been more predicated on, like, the offense potentially that they're actually running. Like, you don't know who's calling the plays. That could have been Ben McAdoo, right? Which he was fired, and maybe that had something to do with the offense that they were running. There's a lot of different things. Like, for example, they have no offensive line. They're still trying to develop a running game, which they now have with Saquon Barkley to a certain degree. Probably could be better. That's why they invested into their offensive line in the offseason. Your concern as a Giants fan should be Eli Manning. He was actually pretty decent last year. Your concern should be their defense.
I am concerned about the defense also.
Well, there you go. That should be your number one concern. If you're a true Giants fan, if you actually know the team, if you know football, you should be more concerned about their defense, because the last time they went 11-5 and they were actually competitive, it was because their defense helped lead them there, as well as their offense being productive enough. That's what's going to help this team be competitive in the NFC East.
Well, hey, listen, you know what, Kev?
Well, I didn't expect to get roasted there.
Well,
Brady,
you're not
but-
going to. Oh, he's like, come on. We're teasing.
Hey,
I just think
we'll give you a little kick on the way out there.
That's
buddy,
all right.
We
Yeah,
appreciate all the
that.
hard work, though. We really
Great
do.
job. But Kev, you've done a great job. We appreciate it. All you've done. Unfortunately, the Giants stink, but you don't. Good luck with everything.